I'm Sarah Abu Ghazaleh from Thrive Alliance, the program associate for policy and advocacy. Right, today we'll be starting with Diane from San Francisco Peninsula People Power to talk about how to safely vote. And then we're going to talk about effective messaging and what Thrive is providing for its partner, outreach partners. And we will be having Sarah and Michael from the election office, the county elections office, to answer your question in the chat box as well. So Diane, I will start presenting your slides.
Okay, so do we have enough? Do we have enough people on? We only have 9 people.
Yes, so I think we're good to go.
Okay.
Okay, just before that, I would like to remind everyone that this is recorded.
And also, if you're not speaking, if you could mute your.
Yes, please mute yourself. Yeah.
Mute, that would be great. Okay, so here I go. All right, so again, what I'm going to talk about in around 15 minutes is the various ways that we can vote safely and securely in the upcoming election. So as Sarah said, if you've got questions that come up during my presentation, just put them in the chat box and either Michael or Sarah from the elections office will answer it. Next slide. Okay, so we in San Mateo County are really well positioned for this upcoming election. Since we implemented the Voters' Choice Act back in 2018, we've had a lot of experience in terms of mailing a ballot to every registered voter in the county and offering multiple ways for that ballot to be returned. So again, most people should start getting their ballots. I got mine in the mail on Monday. And you have multiple ways that you can return that ballot. So there's a lot of ways you can vote from home. And then once you voted on that ballot, you can either mail it through the United States Postal Service, you can drop it off in a ballot drop box or at a vote center, or new this year, you can use remote accessible vote by mail, which I'll get into a little bit later. And as always, you can vote in person. Next slide. So voting by mail, again, you can drop it off in any USPS mailbox or at the post office. Return postage is prepaid. And it's important that your ballot be postmarked by 8 p.m. on November 3rd. So it's important, especially for those folks who tend to wait until the last minute. If you're going to deposit it in a mailbox, check the pickup date, the pickup time, because if the pickup time is later than 5 p.m., there's a good chance that your ballot will not get postmarked in time. And what we've learned over several elections, that the main reason most ballots are not counted is because they arrive too late or they're postmarked after 8 p.m. on election day, especially younger voters. So again, it's important to, if you're going to vote by mail, really do it early. Next slide. You can also use an official ballot drop box. And this is one that I think that, especially for folks that are concerned about coronavirus, this is probably the safest way to vote and make sure that your ballot gets to the elections division in time. There are 39 secure drop boxes that are currently located in the county. They all became available for depositing on Monday, October 5th. And 32 of them are located outside of facilities, so you can go any time of day or night. But again, similar to voting by mail, the ballots must be dropped off by 8 p.m. on November 3rd. The drop boxes are secure. Only people from the elections division can actually get in there. They're fireproof. So again, they're pretty indestructible. Next slide. The one thing that's really important for people that are using paper ballots, whether they're mailing them, dropping them off at the vote center, dropping them in a drop box, is that you sign it. In the 2018 general election, there were 21% of the ballots that were returned without a signature, and another 4% where the signatures didn't match. So again, the biggest reason in terms of signatures that ballots get rejected is the voter forgets to sign them. Now, luckily here in San Mateo County, the elections division will get back in touch with the voter, so you will have a chance to fix it and return through a postage paid envelope a piece of paper that basically you swear that yes, this is you, and you you provide your signature, and then your ballot can get counted. The other thing to notice on the bottom left part of this envelope is if you are unable to go to a ballot drop box, or if you want someone to drop it off for you, you are allowed to do that.
I will answer those and address those in the order.
Okay, can you please mute whoever that is? So on the bottom left, again, you can have someone drop off a ballot for you, but you need to make sure you print their name and you sign it, and you cannot get paid for picking up ballots. But again, you can have someone return a ballot for you. Okay, next slide. So this remote accessible vote by mail, in the past, it's primarily been targeted towards folks with disabilities, where they could get a link from the elections division, bring up the ballot on their screen, use a screen reader software so they can more easily see the ballot. You're still not voting remotely. It just allows you to bring up the ballot, mark it on the screen. So it does require internet access, and then you must print off the ballot. And if you're not using the prepaid envelope that comes with your ballot packet, you do need to sign an oath of voter form. If you are using the prepaid envelope, similar to ones dropped off in the mail or at the drop box, you just need to make sure you sign the ballot. Sign the envelope on the back side. Okay, next one. The other thing that's new this year is you can track your ballot through push notifications via ballot tracks. So you can get a notification when your ballot is being mailed. I got an email telling me that mine was in the mail and when to expect it. You could also sign up to get that notification by text or by phone. So that's a push notification. If you don't want to have a push notification but still want to track your ballot, you can just go to Where's My Ballot? So again, it's on the smcvote.org landing page. You just click on Where's My Ballot, and you can either sign up for ballot tracks or just manually track your ballot. Next slide. And obviously it's very important that we provide people with options to vote in person. There's a lot of reasons people either like to vote in person or need to vote in person. So there will be a total of 45 vote centers that are open in the county starting October 31st, plus there will be 3 pop-up locations in La Honda and Pescadero. 19 of these vote centers are at different locations than they were for the primary. So any old location that's not being used for the general, there will be a sign up pointing people to where they can go to vote. Because again, it was important to pick locations where we could socially distance. The other thing that will be available is you can check smcvote.org. In addition to locations and hours, there will be a waiting time widget. So again, since you can vote at any vote center in the county, you can see the waiting time and pick the one that has the shortest waiting time. Obviously, vote centers will get busier as we get closer to Election Day. 3 vote centers opened on Monday up at Tower Road in San Mateo, downtown Redwood City Government Center, and as well as the South San Francisco Library up on Orange Street in South San Francisco. Next slide. So some of the reasons people go to a vote center, again, you can vote in person using a ballot marking tablet or a paper ballot. And really important for folks that have forgotten to either update their voter registration or just didn't register at all, you can register to vote up to and including Election Day. So that's a very important message to get across to people that tend to procrastinate. You can also get a replacement ballot. You can get language assistance either from a vote center worker, or if it's in a language that they don't support, there's telephone assistance as well. There'll be accessible voting machines, and then you can also drop off your paper ballot at any vote center, and those will all be curbside drop off. So again, in addition to the 39 drop boxes, there's 45 vote centers that you can drop your ballot off at starting October 31st. Okay, next slide. So at the vote center, so again, there's been a lot of work done to make sure that it's safe and secure. The Secretary of State's office issued a 50-page document about how to make sure that voting in person was safe. The ballot marking tablet, from a security standpoint, is not connected to the internet, and any choices a voter makes are not saved on that device. What happens is once you've made your choices on the tablet, Those are printed out on paper, which is then deposited by the voter into the sealed ballot box, which will be near the, well, it could be in different places at the vote center, but it's really important to not walk out of the vote center with your paper with your choices on it. Make sure you put it in the drop box before you leave. And all COVID-19 safety recommendations will be followed. There'll be masks, hand sanitizer, single-use stylus or finger cot. If there is an individual who refuses to wear a mask, they will still be allowed to vote. They may need to wait until they can vote in a location within the vote center that's far enough away from both the people working there as well as other voters. Next slide. So key election dates, obviously, you know, the first thing you want to do is make a voting plan. And the first part of that is checking your voter registration status. The worst thing is to go and into a vote center and not be registered to vote. I mean, though you still can, it will take a lot longer. And for people who are waiting for their ballot and it doesn't come, it could be that you're not registered. So again, check your voter registration now. Everyone should have gotten their sample ballot and voter information pamphlet. And again, the ballots started getting mailed before October 5th, and a lot of us received them already on Monday because voting started on Monday. So we are in election season. October 19th is the last day to register to vote online or on paper. But again, you can still go to any vote center to register to vote. October 31st, all 45 vote centers will be open until Election Day. And then obviously November 3rd is Election Day. For mail ballots, in the past that they had to arrive at the elections division within 3 days, but now there's 17 days after Election Day that they can arrive. So again, you know, Election Day is the last day that you can vote, but the county has until December 3rd to certify the results to make sure that there's time for all those mail-in ballots to be received. Next slide. The other really important message to get across to everyone is final results will not be available on election night, especially in any close races. As I said, you know, we're allowing paper ballots to arrive at the elections division up to 17 days after Election Day. So the more ballots that are done by mail, are done on paper, either dropped off or by mail, the more time it takes to accurately count the votes. I mean, it's quite a process. The good news is paper ballot processing can start 29 days before Election Day, though no results will be released until after the polls close at 8 p.m. So this means that the elections division can start working as soon as they start receiving those either mailed in or dropped off paper ballots, make sure that they've been signed. And if the envelope has not been signed, they can get in touch with the voter to fix that. But again, it's not like all these ballots are just piling up and not counted or processed until Election Day. They're starting to work on them right now. And yes, okay, next slide, that's fine. Something to remember, again, to pass on to folks is you don't have to vote for every office or proposition on your ballot for your ballot to be counted. If you don't understand what's on the ballot, or, you know, and you know, some of these propositions are a little bit confusing, just vote for what you really feel confident voting on or things that you really care about. Again, and I can't say this often enough, make sure you sign the back side of the return envelope if you're voting by paper, whether you're mailing it or dropping it off. Because again, over 20% of the ballots that were returned in the 2018 general election didn't have a signature on it. Every vote is important. There have been elections that have been decided by a coin toss or fewer than 10 votes. The example I like to give is the incorporation of East Palo Alto was incorporated by only a margin of 15 votes. So every vote really does count, especially in local elections, which probably have a more direct and immediate impact on all of us. Next slide. So there's a number of sources that are available for voters. Again, since the ballots start getting a bit complicated, the League of Women Voters has an easy voter guide in paper that goes over all of the propositions. They also, the League of Women Voters of San Mateo County, both the North, Central, and South chapters, have put together a pros and cons, and I think Sarah will talk a little bit about that as well. And that's really good information about each of the propositions. They also have Voters Edge, where you can go online and look at all the candidates as well as all the propositions, getting more information about who's backing the candidates and the propositions and where's the money coming from. The Asian Law Caucus has a number of resources, Know Your Voting Rights and language assistance, and most of these resources are available in 20 different languages. Thrive also has some customized elections division materials, which Sarah will talk about. And then finally, this is an important number to carry with you. If anyone who's out voting is concerned about either voter intimidation or there's a problem at the vote center, you can call this number 866-OUR-VOTE to get assistance. And last slide, go to smcvote.org. I mean, that is the landing page that we've really been pushing for quite some time. You can get any kind of information you need about the election at smcvote.org. The location and hours of the vote centers, where the ballot drop boxes are located, tracking your ballot, registering to vote. It's really important, and it's an easy URL to remember. So smcvote.org. And that is it. Any questions?
Hi, this is
Are there any
Lisa
questions?
from BACHAC. Good morning. I wanted to find out, and you covered a lot of great information, so I'm assuming these slides will be available at some point.
They already are on the website. They're already on the Thrive website. So
okay.
Sarah will go through what's about that as well.
Okay, and then maybe Sarah will also talk about a script for those of us who are doing phone banking. Is there like a cheat sheet that we just, points that we can cover while we're on the phone with individuals?
All right,
I think the fact sheet.
Fact sheet's good enough? Okay.
I think so. I mean, again, take a look at it, and if there's additional information that's needed, just shoot an email.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa and Linda. Please, I just would like to remind everyone to introduce yourself in the chat box and your name and your organization. So I will move now to the effective messaging. Right. Okay, for some reason. Okay, so voter outreach, effective messaging. These are the source of this information actually comes from the Center of Inclusive Democracy, the CID, and the effective messages. For effective messaging, we mainly need to understand people's concern. So the main concern these days is the COVID infection, and it's more common among African Americans, young voters, and people with disabilities. So for such concerns, we need to remind people that they have the option to vote through the contactless ballot drop box, mailing it through USPS, or driving through the drop off at vote centers, and the option of remote accessible vote option that Diane has already mentioned them all. Also, for people who still want to vote in person, please remind them that the safety precautions are considered at vote centers, including a face mask, the single-use pens, and etc. Other main concern is the ballot not being counted. And as Diane mentioned, ballots get rejected most often because it has no signature, the signature does not match the original one, or because it's late. So remind people to return their ballots early. If there is a signature problem or any other problem, the election office will contact them and correct that issue. Remind them to seal it, sign it, and date the envelope. For some people, they are concerned about not receiving the ballot. Well, remind everyone that registered voters in California will all automatically get a ballot in mail by mail if they are registered by October 19. If not, they can still register or re-register at registertovote.ca.gov, or they can still request a ballot at any vote centers. Also, remind the people that they have various options on how to vote based on their preference. the ballot drop box, the in-person voting, and everything that Diane has mentioned. Also, for the materials that you will use for your outreach, please be mindful that these should be easy to use. Consider the accessible language and the quality of translation and the readability for voters with visual disabilities. Remember that friends and family are a key information source. So specifically for Latinx community and young voters, they trust them the most. So it's the most trustworthy source for them. Use community empowering language. The future is ours to build by voting together. We can do it, and etc. So these are about effective messaging for voter engagement. This is a very nice flyer from the county elections office that talks about the COVID-19 safety guidelines, about covering your face, maintaining the social distance, using the hand sanitizer before and after voting, and where to vote exactly in the ballot, and vote at home. So for Thrive Voter Engagement Partners Toolkit, I know that some of you have already completed the form of the partners form. So Thrive will or is providing the partners a voter outreach training and training materials. Although this is the second session of the training, but we'll be providing you with the training materials in a follow-up email. Also, we will have all the training materials and other up-to-date resources live on our election page on Thrive's webpage, main webpage. And Thrive will provide either a printed or electronic copies of outreach materials based on your choice. So these materials can be the Thrive Fast Fact Sheet, it's only one pager, or the election office materials. These materials, you can have them as is or be branded with your logo. It depends on what you choose. We will be also providing you with social media posts included in a newsletter, a weekly newsletter that will be pushed out on each Monday. It has a timely appropriate message and a graphic, a visual content. So the newsletter will also include elections related upcoming events, will also include important resources that can be useful for your voter engagement practices. So this is the Thrive Fast Fact Sheet. I don't know, for some reason, does not allow me to view the slideshow option, but if you could see it here, it has all the information voters might need on starting on the registration, how to register, re-register, how to vote at home, to how to vote in person, how to track your ballot, and reminding people that voting is safe and secured, even with the COVID situation that we are facing. These are the election office materials, or let's say some of them. They are provided and available in various languages. Let us know, I will come to this point just here. Okay, so to become an active partner with Thrive for voter engagement, there are three stuff, or let's start with the main thing is the voter education partner form that you need to fill out. A very short form, would take you less than 1 minute to complete to be one of our partners. We will also need you to complete the voter engagement materials needs survey. So this will help us more to understand what type of materials you want, what type of materials you want it either physically or electronically. If you want your logo on, the number of the copies you want as well. The third thing is the voter engagement partner questionnaire. It's a very short questionnaire just to report on the numbers of cases you have reached to. You are free to either fill it whenever you want, starting from now and through the elections day. Last and not least, please join us next week on Wednesday, October 14th for our Voter Education and Outreach Advisory Committee, the VIOC meeting, to know more about the Elections Office updates and other outreach practices. So I think I went really too fast, and thank you so much. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat box. Okay, Kava, thank you. How different are the materials from Thrive from the ones offered by the Elections Office? They're actually, the content in some materials might be the same, but the Thrive one-pager has like a brief information about each process the voter might need to know about, the registration, tracking ballots, etc. The Elections Office has various materials that can be more detailed. This depends on what type of materials you want, and they are translated in various languages. So the Thrive one is only in English. Jamie, any Chinese language assistance? Diane, would you like to answer that? I'm sorry, but you are muted.
I think what they tried to do is to get multilingual vote center workers, especially in those communities where that language like Chinese is more frequently spoken. But again, I don't know for sure how many people physically will be on site, but there is a phone number that they can call so that to get someone who can speak in that native language, whether it's Chinese or Tagalog or whatever, if there isn't someone physically at the vote center.
And yes, we have the option to add your logo and brand the materials, the outreach materials with your organization part or logo. I think we are missing Sarah from the Elections Office.
Yeah, I don't see anyone from the Elections Office. Any other questions? People just want to unmute and ask them since we've got 2 minutes.
Please feel free to ask any questions.
Hi, this is Lisa Taylor again from BACHAC. So what's going to be in the toolkit?
So, okay, the toolkit, the Thrive's toolkit, well, the training sessions, so we can send out the training materials. We will also provide the outreach materials branded with your organization logo, either if you would like it electronically or physical copies. We can provide you with this, but please fill out the survey to let us know what you exactly need. The third option is a weekly newsletter that includes a social media post with a graphic, a timely appropriate social media post. So you can just easily use it and you copy paste it to any of your social media platforms.
So you're going to provide the link that was in the PowerPoint. You're going to send that out for us to fill out the form. Is that correct? Or do we go to the website or? Okay.
Yes, yes. I can also add it now here in the chat box.
Great, thank you.
Hi, this is Heather from Peninsula Family Service. I'm just wondering when we'll get those materials that are co-branded.
Okay, so actually by Friday, for the ones who have completed the report yesterday, their copies will be ready by Friday.
And how do we get those?
We will just contact each of you separately and see which is the best way to reach you.
Okay. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Please let us know, Heather. We can talk about this offline and see the best way you want.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I see that Michael joined us. So Michael, there was a question about Chinese language support at the vote centers, and I was wondering if you could just give a little bit more information about how that language assistance is provided at the vote centers.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Louie. I'm a supervisor here with the County of San Mateo Elections Division. So in terms of our language assistants at our vote centers, we try our best to hire multilingual staff and place them accordingly in, the areas that most likely speak those languages in our county. So if it's Chinese, maybe South City or Brisbane in the north. If it's Spanish speaking, maybe Redwood City and East Palo Alto areas. If we cannot find vote center representatives who speak those languages, we do have a hotline support for our vote center staff to basically contact a translator and interpreter service. So we can provide that in-person real-time translation services for any voter who shows up to our vote center. And the nice thing about that phone service is they provide not just Chinese, they provide many languages. I don't know on the top of my head how many, but enough to cover all the languages in our county. So that's basically how it works. Staff are trained on the matter. Again, if they can't communicate with the voter, they'll just go to the lead and then contact the number we have in their resource guide that we provide to all our vote center staff. I hope I answered the question.
I think so. So I also saw a question in the chat about if someone signed up for a temporary change in where their ballot is to be mailed, but it was mailed to their permanent address, what should that voter do?
They should contact our office because we should look into it. It could possibly be that they made their change or the request right as we were running the extracts that we send to our printer. And so, we do this maybe a month ago because it takes time for printing. So maybe that one-time request, they will get a ballot sent to that temporary address that they submitted, but another ballot is being issued right now. So it's maybe just a timing logistics matter on that front, but we don't really know. So they should definitely contact our office so that a staff member could look up their voter registration in the backend system and see exactly what the case is with their ballot.
Any last questions? Now that we have some folks from the elections division here. Well, we're a little after 9:30, so and we were just asking you to commit to 30 minutes. So if there aren't any more questions, do you see any more coming in, Sarah?
I just see one from Jamie saying that, yes, our presentation materials are available on Thrive's website. Diane's presentation and Thrive presentation on effective messaging are all available on our website. So there's a question from Judah, I think, to Michael. How can a voter check their signature for change in handwriting?
That's a good question. There's no real direct way for a voter to look up what signature they have in our system. Basically, voters can call our office and ask basically for the operator to describe what we see on the backend system. But I'd say 90%, if not more, of the voters' signatures that we have in our voter registration database come from the DMV. Those systems are linked, and so we usually see basically the signature that you have on your driver's license is the signature we see on their back end, and that's the signature we are matching against or checking against when we check a signature that's put on a voter envelope, a ballot envelope. However, we don't just have that signature, we have a record and a history of signatures. So from past elections that you voted in, we will capture that signature. Or if you've registered multiple times and moved multiple times within the county, we will have each of those registration signatures on file. So we track history. We understand that signatures do change and evolve over time. And we're looking for similarities, not differences. So if I sign you know, the M in my name exactly identically, and then maybe get lazy and just do a line for the rest of my name, we will check that M and see, okay, yes, it's identical to how we have it on record. We can verify this is the voter and move on. It's very, our trained staff can easily identify whether the signature is authentic and is from the voter or not. People's handwriting is so distinct and unique, so it's easy for us to check and verify if this is the voter's signature or not. These are good questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any more questions?
I had a question in the chat, which I'll just ask. I'm just curious, Michael, what kinds of questions you're getting from voters now that, I mean, either before or after ballots were arriving, but what is on the main hotline? What kinds of questions are coming in?
Yeah, that's a good one. Mostly the first few weeks is basically ballot status. Where is my ballot? Or questions about where can I vote in person? Or if I spoiled my ballot, spilled coffee on it, can I obtain a different one, a replacement ballot? So those are I would say the top 3 questions we were receiving right now and usually do receive from election to election. It does vary from election to election. And say in the primaries, we had a lot of partisan questions, but this time around, it seems more usual. So just more of where can I vote? How can I vote? When can I vote? And if I make an error, how do I correct that? It seems like if I check the stats correctly, we're seeing double the voter activity and the voting activity than in March. So people are voting early, which is very encouraging. We just want to continue to spur the voters to continue to vote early, whether in person or by mail. We have gotten confirmation from USPS that the mail is working well and as intended. I know there were some fears or hesitancies before the election started, but our ballots went out as fast, if not faster than we've seen in past elections. So it's very encouraging that our trusted partners at the USPS are indeed taking this seriously and prioritizing the election mail.
Right, thank you, Linda. Thank you, Michael. Jamie, Diane and Sarah both have answered your question. Yes. If there's no more questions, we would like to thank you all for joining. All right, I think that's it.
All right, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and
Thank you.
yeah, we'll be sending out a follow-up email. Let us know if you have any more questions. Email us, Diane, Sarah, or Bren, or Michael, me or Petra, and have a good one.
All right, take care everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Make your voting plan.